as I like spray water all over myself. Oh, good morning. We're live again. Missed yesterday, a little under the weather. Back today. Happy National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, a day that I can super get behind. Been eating peanut butter and jelly. I think that was the only thing I had for lunch for years. The only thing that I was packed on my lunch was PB&J, and I loved it. Loved every bit of it. Never got tired of it. Can still eat it to this day. Also, Burrito Day, Ferret Day, Reconciliation Day, not bad, and World Autism Day. So, lots going on today. On this day, fun fact, in 1878, the first White House Easter egg roll took place. Now we know. 1878. All right. I have a minute left until the next segment. So we got to get ready for the Fox Business Report. And what else we go? Oh, we got to figure out what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about spring a bit.
Times have a way of
Oh, I should have of all these.
What matters most when it comes to spending or healthcare. This is why so many people are joining Medishare right now.
4 Seasons.
Medishare is a trusted way to save up to 50%
of all these 4 Seasons.
More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medishare can save you a lot of money.
Ooh, that's a little too much.
$5 billion. All
right, we'll figure it out during the Fox Business Report.
Choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number.
Here we go.
And if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now. Perfect time to make the switch.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh
wait, that's not. And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, and it is 14 minutes past the top of the hour, 6:14 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. And hey, good morning to you, city that I can just pull up here because I forgot I'm doing the weather right now. Good morning, Meadow Vista. It is currently 46 degrees right now. Looking for a high today of 69 degrees. All right, let's throw it over now to the Fox Business Report.
And this is the Fox Business Report. Banking regulators are looking into the large investments made by index funds in U.S. banks.
All right. Okay. Let's do this one. All right.
Professionals to get all your home projects done well, inside to outside,
Queued
repairs
up.
to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Night, every day they steal from you. Any device with a digital display on light or sleep mode steals energy. They may only steal a little bit, but like drops of water in a bucket,
It adds up and you pay.
Stop energy theft. Turn off printers and computers when not in use. Use a power strip for
That's 30
charging
seconds.
and turn the strip off when done. Stop energy thieves and save. Brought to you by Pioneer Community.
16 minutes past the top of the hour here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is Voice of the Foothills, 6:16 a.m. Ooh, what is that spring-like music? Well, that's here to announce the Spring Festival on Lincoln Way. That's downtown Auburn's Spring Festival on Lincoln Way, family-friendly event, free entry for everyone. When is this going to be? Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be Saturday, April 20th. So we got a few weeks yet till it's coming up, but plenty of time to get it on the calendar. Saturday, April 20th from 4 to 8 p.m. right on Lincoln Way here in downtown Auburn. Aces baseball team is going to host a cornhole tournament. Boy, you got to get in on that. That's going to be absolutely fun. Events are going to include live music, food vendors, craft vendors. There's going to be a kids play area. To sign up as a vendor, if you want to be a vendor at this, you can email auburnbaevents@gmail.com. That's Auburn DBAevents@gmail.com. Don't forget the D there, Chris. AuburnDBAevents@gmail.com. Again, it's downtown Auburn's Spring Festival on Lincoln Way. Family-friendly event. Free entry for everybody. Saturday, April 20th, 4 to 8 p.m. There's going to be live music, food vendors, craft vendors, kids play area, a ton of great stuff. Make sure you put it on the calendar. Back with more right after this.
Home insurance store.
Hope that works. We'll see.
Brandon Harris here to say it's not all doom and gloom. At Homer Insurance, you'll talk to real insurance experts that have real solutions. We work with dozens of real estate companies helping their
Takes care of that one.
solve problems every day. If you think you're paying too much, give us a crack and call Homer Insurance today at 916-339-7070. 916-339-7070. Because KAHI cares. Here's another KAHI Community Bulletin Board.
If food rules your life, get help and support from a group that understands your situation. Overeaters Anonymous is a support group for eating disorders.
Okay, coming up next is Sports Ball.
Join them at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays at the Pioneer United Methodist Church, 11338 Lincoln Way, or call Sherry at 530-921-8028, or go to oa.org.
18 minutes past the top of the hour. Coming up in our next segment, Sports Ball. Giants and the Dodgers played yesterday. Oh, boy. We'll read those scores. Also, I'll let you know when the Kings are playing again, when you can catch all of the action here on KAHI. Back now to America's First News. I'll see you back here at the bottom of the hour.
France circulated a proposed new United Nations resolution that would call for an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and the immediate release of all hostages.
All right. Off now to practice the news. Back after this.
Told reporters before presenting the draft resolution to
Set our next time segment for 4 minutes. Okay, there we go.
This draft resolution deals with the most pressing matters. It calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza without a time limitation. It also demands the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. It condemns the terrorist attacks by Hamas that took place on October 7, and it demands an immediate and full humanitarian access. We are just starting. It's an ambitious project. It could take time. We need to consult everyone. As you know, the situation in the Gaza Strip is catastrophic. We call for the full and immediate implementation of Resolution 2728. Against this background, France is convinced that the Security Council should live up to its responsibilities. The two humanitarian resolutions tabled by Malta and the United Arab Emirates paved the way. The elected member, the E10 resolution, was a turning point a week ago. This council needs to do more. It cannot wait any longer.
The Security Council issued its first demand for a ceasefire last Monday for the remainder of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which ends April 9th. The United States, Israel's closest ally, abstained, angering Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. American and Israeli officials, meanwhile, are planning talks to discuss the potential expansion of Israel's war against Hamas to the southernmost Gaza city of Rafah, as the U.S. opposes the Israeli ground assault on humanitarian grounds. There are more than 1.3 million civilians sheltering there after fleeing other parts of Gaza. Netanyahu has insisted that Israel must be able to enter the city as it has the rest of the territory in order to root out Hamas's remaining fighters. He claimed anybody who says he's not doing all he can to bring home the hostages is a liar.
מי שאומר שאני לא עושה הכל כדי להחזיר את חטופינו, טועה ומטעה. ומי שיודע את האמת, ועדיין חוזר על השקר הזה, גורם לצער מיותר למשפחות החטופים.
Tens of thousands of Israelis demonstrated in Jerusalem Sunday in the largest anti-government protest since the country went to war in October. Protesters urged the government to reach a ceasefire deal to free dozens of hostages and to hold early elections. Democratic Representative James Clyburn told NBC Netanyahu's problems at home and abroad are of his own doing.
What is happening is wrong, and we need to make it right. And that's what President Biden is trying to do, trying to make it right. And I would say that poll showed much more of a dissatisfaction with Netanyahu than with the people of Israel. We stand with the people of Israel. We do not like the fact that this country's policy is a two-state solution. And Netanyahu has undermined that two-state solution for as long as he's been in office. He sold his soul to the right-wingers in Israel in order to maintain power for himself. And those people are opposed to his two-state solution. Biden is for a two-state solution. Democrats are for a two-state solution. That is the only way for us to move forward. And so this drop in support has nothing to do with the people of Israel and everything to do with Netanyahu.
On the ground, an apparent Israeli airstrike killed 4 international aid workers with the World Central Kitchen charity and their Palestinian driver late Monday, hours after the group brought in a new shipload of food to northern Gaza. Staff showed the passports of 3 of the dead, British, Australian, and Polish. The nationality of the 4th aid worker was not immediately known. Now to California, where most fast food workers are being paid at least $20 an hour, as a new law kicked in Monday, giving more financial security to an historically low-paying profession while threatening to raise prices in a state already known for its high cost of living. State Democrats passed it last year as part of an acknowledgement that many of the more than 500,000 who work in fast food restaurants aren't teenagers earning spending money, but rather adults working to support their families. McDonald's California franchisee Scott Roderick described to CNBC the expected impact on franchise operators.
Impacts 15,000 restaurants up and down the state of California. It's going to be the most serious challenge for entrepreneurs that do business on the franchising platform. The vast majority of these restaurants run by small business proprietors who do business on the franchising platform, and the vast majority being family owned and operated, just like my restaurants. You know, I want to underscore the words family owned because franchisees are not large global corporations. The restaurant brands that we franchise might be national in name, but franchisees are local business operators. It's an important fact that somehow it seems to get lost in the legislation that was crafted. And as you stated earlier regarding, it is absolutely the intended consequences. And for many, what makes this legislation unprecedented, let alone extraordinary, is that it only benefits employees who work in franchise restaurants. Whether you own one single donut shop or 10 donut shops in California, if you're part of a franchise brand with 60 or more locations, the new wage mandate is going to apply to you. And as you just stated, this is an extraordinary wage jump, 25% overnight. It's a serious concern for 2 reasons. First, it targets only fast food restaurants. And second, the sheer scale of the impact is just breathtaking. Historically, as you said about step-laddered approach, you know, many cities have studied and put forth living wages with annual CPI bumps. Certainly the city that I opened my first McDonald's in, San Francisco, is one great example of that. They chose a fair living wage. They set an annual CPI cap, and it allows us to plan for that as small business owners. It's fair to the employees, and it's fair to people who create the jobs.
Over the past decade, California's doubled its minimum wage for most workers to $16 an hour. A big concern over that at the time was whether the increase would cause some workers to lose their jobs as employers' expenses increased. Instead, data shows wages went up and employment did not fall. Thunder and lightning delayed the start of the annual Easter egg roll at the White House Monday, but the event eventually rolled ahead under gray skies with a large crowd, including many youngsters wearing ponchos or colorful jackets against intermittent rain. More than 40,000 10,000 more than last year were expected to attend, with host President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden.
Happy Easter, everybody. I'm a teacher, so I love any time when we can turn the White House into a classroom. And that's what we're doing today. The South Lawn is transforming into our learning playground and school community.
We did everything, but we couldn't control the weather. So Al Roker told me this morning it was going to get sunny. Folks, welcome to what's expected to be the biggest White House Easter egg roll ever. Easter reminds us of the power of hope and renewal, sacrifice and resurrection, but mainly love and grace toward one another.
Participants included thousands of military and veteran families, their caregivers, and survivors. Members of the general public claimed the tickets through an online lottery. All were being admitted in 9 waves until the evening. And Google's agreed to purge billions of records containing personal information it collected from more than 136 million people in the U.S. surfing the web through its Chrome browser. The massive house cleaning comes as part of a settlement in a lawsuit accusing the search giant of illegal surveillance. Among other allegations, the lawsuit accused Google of tracking Chrome users' internet activity even when they had switched the browser to incognito mode. That is supposed to shield users from being shadowed by the Mountain View company.
Okay.
America's First News with
Matt Ray. All right, we've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, people. What happened to the volume? Hello? Okay, that's on your guys' end. What should we do with the Ariel Jean Blue Jean Bonanza? Seroptimist? Not sophomores.
When the temperature drops,
Seroptimist?
turbocharged performance. Avoid
Let's
fuel
make sure that
jelly by
we
using Hot Shot Secret's EDG
Extreme.
Winter Defense, a 7-in-1 fuel booster and anti-gel that improves cold weather performance. The 7-point cetane boost increases DPF regens and
We don't have that yet. We have sports
Be
ball right
confident that your engine is running smoothly and
Sports ball.
trouble-free, even in the coldest temperatures. Hot Shot Secret EDG Plus Winter Defense, available at Pilot Line J, Amazon, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hey, America.
1 minute, Adam.
You of mainstream corporate media's bias.
You tired of it?
Manipulated media.
Tired.
Their dishonesty to influence this generation have been exposed. Put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American magazine has been an honest source of news.
Because people still read magazines.
Years. This is your opportunity to receive the standard of principled journalism at a
Of course it is.
Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written in integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed.
Sure, it's going to be a big hit.
Coverage from the freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on any subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25%.
Here we go, Adam. 5 seconds.
Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, and it is 30 minutes past the top of the hour, 6:30 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. And hey, good morning to you, Grass Valley. Currently, it is 45 degrees where you're at right now, looking for a high today of 67 degrees. All right, there's the sports ball music. Let's get right into it. We're going to start on the hardwood. NBA yesterday. Nets versus the Pacers. Pacers outpaced the Nets and win that one 133-111. Trailblazers versus the Magic. Magic bring the Magic, but just barely win that one 104-103. Pistons versus the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies roar and win that one 110-108. Celtics versus the Hornets. Celtics have a little bit of that Irish luck there. Win that one 118-104. Heading over to the MLB. That's right. Baseball season has started. It is here. It is back. Giants versus the Dodgers. Well, the Dodgers won that one. Dodgers win that one 8-3 over the Giants. Cards versus the Padres. Cardinals win that one 6-2. Yankees versus the D-backs. Yankees win that one 5-2. A's playing the Red Sox. Red Sox. Oh, run away with that one 9-0. Guardians versus the Mariners. Mariners win that one 5-4. Astros versus the Blue Jays. Astros run away with that one 10-0. Tigers versus the Mets. Tigers win that one 5-0. Tampa Bay Rays versus the Rangers. Rangers win that one 9-3. Hey, when can you hear the Kings here again? Because we're still in basketball season. Well, you can hear them tonight versus LA. That's going to be at 7 p.m. here on KAHI. The Kings are playing again tonight, April 2nd, versus LA. Is it LA or Louisiana? Well, they're not playing the Lakers, I'll tell you that. Anyway, they're playing tonight at 7 p.m. Catch all of the action here on KAHI. Back with your KAHI weather right after this.
Do you ever wonder how your life can be better, happier, healthier, and even more? Have I got some ideas for you? I'm Mary Jane Potter. I'm developing some exciting ways for a better life.
Hey, Mary Jane.
Experts that I've gathered from a new show called Pop Talk. It's just around the corner. We'll go there together with new dimensions and unlimited possibilities that you and me together will make a difference.
Tuesday weather forecast, mostly sunny skies, temperatures approaching 70 today, and the southwest wind about 10 miles per hour. Mostly clear overnight, 45 to 50 for the low, and light winds expected. There'll be some breezes coming in from the south. On Wednesday, it'll be mostly sunny, 65 to 70. And Thursday should be mostly cloudy with a few showers around 58 degrees. This is meteorologist Tim Root from FM 104.5 and AM 950 KAHI.
Hi, I'm Martha Barnett.
And I'm Grant Barrett.
We're hosts of A Way with Words, a weekly show about language.
We take your calls from anywhere in the country.
And from outside the country, too.
About anything and everything related to communication.
Okay.
It's a show about speaking
Short
and
one.
writing and why we say the things we do.
It's also a show
California
about
Ag
history,
Report
values, and culture.
next.
Satisfy your linguistic curiosity Saturdays and Sundays at 7 p.m. on the Voice of the Foothills, AM 950 KAHI.
33 minutes past the top of the hour. It is 6:33 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is the Voice of the Foothills. Coming up in our next segment, well, gang, it's Tuesday, which means we're going to have a little bit of a shorter segment. We'll have something for the calendar for you. Make sure you're keeping up with events. Also, we'll have your California Ag Report. Then we're going to head back to America's First News to finish out the hour. And then, yeah, we've been waiting a week for it. It is coming back here. We're going to have the Meddlers meeting at 7 a.m. Love being able to carry that for everybody so we can hear not only what's going on in the city of Auburn here, but with our fair county as well. Back now to America's First News. I'll see you back here in just a little bit.
Tuesday morning, 34 minutes past the hour on the second day of April.
Okay, next segment is 5 minutes. Ew. Let's do the Ariel Jean or the Blue Jean Bonanza. What should we do?
The wreckage closed
Do you
before
have anything
Baltimore, a major
on?
shipping port, potentially costing the area's economy hundreds of millions
see.
of dollars in lost labor income alone over the next month. President Joe Biden will visit the collapse site
Jean.
Friday, according to White House Press Secretary
Oh.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
She does.
Said Monday, he'll meet with state and local officials
Oh my
to
gosh.
get an on-the-ground look at the federal response efforts
What?
and asked about potential supply.
She has something. There's a song. Oh, let's go.
Back in the car, get in the road, trading in my life for the highway of gold. Going anywhere but here.
Nice.
Got nothing to lose, got the small town blues.
Oh, a cool song.
Big city news. Country music tunes.
All right. Cool. Let's do it.
We're going to be looking closely into that, and that's why
And that is going to be first thing.
that we're doing
Cool.
this in a
Off to read the news.
way, in a smart way, and dealing with all the stakeholders. That's going to be effective.
Officials are trying to determine how to rebuild the major bridge, which was completed in 1977. President Biden has said the federal government will cover the cost of most of it. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
So we're using an authority called the Emergency Relief. This is through our Federal Highway Administration. That's how we got those first 60 million out, and there will be more where that came from. Now, it is possible we may need to turn to Congress to supplement that fund. That has happened in the past. If you remember the 2007 bridge collapse in Minnesota, ultimately about $260 million put together, including funds that were put through Congress on a bipartisan basis. And I hope and expect this too will be a bipartisan priority.
So what exactly would be the pitch to any skeptical lawmaker who says, why on earth should we have to pay for this?
Well, the pitch is your district could be next. And also, this has historically been bipartisan. And I'm not just reaching back to bygone eras. Remember, the infrastructure package itself, President Biden's infrastructure plan, went through on a bipartisan basis. A lot of people didn't think that was possible when we got here in 2021, but the president never gave up on the idea. And sure enough, a lot of Republicans were willing to cross the aisle and work with President Biden, work with Democrats to get this done.
Buttigieg making the comments to CBS. Congress is expected to consider aid packages to help people who lose jobs or businesses because of the prolonged closure of the Port of Baltimore. It handles more cars and farm equipment than any other U.S. facility. Less than a week after a stock market debut, Donald Trump's social media company Monday disclosed it lost nearly $58 million last year, sending its stock tumbling more than 21%. Losses in 2023 for Trump Media and Technology Group, whose flagship product is Truth Social, mark a stark decline compared with the profit of $50 million that the former president's company reported for 2022, according to a company filing with securities regulators. Revenue for Trump Media came in at just $4.1 million in 2020. After merging with a blank check company called Digital World Acquisition, Trump began trading on March 26th on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol DJT, and it's been a volatile ride. UPS will become the primary air cargo provider for the United States Postal Service. The Atlanta shipping company said Monday it received an air cargo contract from the Postal Service that significantly expands an existing partnership between the two. UPS will move the majority of air cargo in the U.S. for the Postal Service following the transition period. Financial terms of the deal were disclosed. Turning to sports this morning, and after being a spectator a year ago, Paige Beckers is headed back to the Final Four after scoring 28 points and lifting UConn to an 80-73 win over Southern California in the women's NCAA tournament Monday night. Beckers outdueled All-American Juju Watkins, sparking a decisive run in the final 5 minutes that sent third-seeded Connecticut to its 23rd national semifinal, the most of any school.
There's so much gratitude. I'm a living testimony. I give all glory to God. He works in mysterious ways. Last year I was praying to be back at this stage, and he sent me trials and tribulations. It was to build my character. It was to test my faith to see if I was only a believer in but I just kept on believing. I did all I could so God can do all I can, and just so much joy and pride for this team. I'm so proud. We're not even supposed to be here, and here we are, a godly miracle. And I'm just so proud. I can't even put in the words.
Beckers making the comments to ESPN. The Huskies will go on to face Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes in the Final Four. The superstar guard, whose record-breaking has brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball, made 9 threes and finished with 41 points and 12 assists as Iowa knocked defending national champ LSU out of the tournament with a 94-87 victory. Clark told ESPN she's not done yet.
It was tied at the half. You came out in the third quarter and hit 4 threes. What flipped in your mind about the shots you were taking? I think just confidence, being confident in all the work that I put in, trusting my teammates. But we really knew it was on the defensive end. We knew we were going to be able to be fine on offense. We've been fine on offense all year. I think it was just getting stops and being physical. They rebounded the ball really well, but we weathered every storm. You got to give them a lot of credit. They had a great year. You wanted to get back to the Final Four. You've talked about it all year. How do you describe this feeling in this moment, Caitlin? This one probably feels a little bit better. It's my senior year with this group. A lot of people counted us out at the beginning of the year with the people we lost, and all we did was work really hard. And to get back here was really hard. This region was loaded with so much talent, and the job's not finished.
Flajay Johnson had 23 points for number 3 LSU, which fell short of becoming the first repeat champ since UConn did it in 2016. Johnson asked about the leadership of Angel Reese, who will have to make a decision whether to turn pro or come back for one more year.
Everybody can have their opinion on Angel Reese, but y'all don't know her. Like, y'all don't know Angel Reese. I know Angel Reese. I know the real Angel Reese. And the person I see every day is a strong person. He's a caring, loving person, bro. The crown she wears is heavy, bro. She's the type of teammate that's going to make you believe in yourself. The leap that I took from my freshman and sophomore year, Angel gave me that confidence to go be a dog. Playing next to a dog every day. And, you know, just to see how the media ridicule her, went through our problems, but, like, this is my sister right here. And I'm so proud of her. Like, the media, y'all, how they like to twist and call it a villain and all of that, y'all don't know Angel, bro. And I'm just happy that I get to play with her. I get to be around her presence. Her energy is different. Like, she just make me a better player. She make me a better player, and that's what great players do.
Monday's highly anticipated matchup was a rematch of last year's national championship game, won by LSU, which drew a record 9.9 million viewers. On the pro hardwood, Devin Booker had 52 points, the fifth highest scoring game of his career, powering the Suns to a 124-111 win over the Pelicans, bringing them within a game of the Pelicans for the number 6 playoff spot in the West. Booker became the first NBA player since Wilt Chamberlain to score at least 50 points in 3 consecutive games against the same team. Pelicans coach Willie Green.
You know, you don't want to take credit from these guys when they go out and have a performance like he did. He hit some shots that we gave him, and he also hit some tough shots. We have to do better. I mean, there's no excuse to get 50 put on us twice. And so our mentality coming out, especially in the first quarter, because both games, it's been the first half where he's really done some damage against us. And, you know, quite frankly, we were soft guarding. We just had a soft mentality when it came to being physical on him, and he's a great player. You can't allow him to be comfortable, and that's what we did tonight.
In addition to his 52 and Phoenix's 123-109 win over the Pelicans in the Smoothie King Center January 19th, Booker scored 58 against New Orleans in a 118-114 home win over the Pelicans December 12th of 2022. The teams play again in Phoenix on Sunday. And on the diamond, Ronel Blanco put a bow on a remarkable week. In a span of just 7 days, the Houston right-hander welcomed a new daughter, made his first opening day roster, and then threw the first no-hitter in the major leagues this year. Blanco struck out 7 and walked 2 in the Astros' 10-0 win over the Blue Jays Monday night. The 30-year-old who didn't play in the majors until he was 28 was making just his 8th career start.
Breaking news first, America's first news. We'll be right back.
Wayne Fireball, CPA and certified financial planner professional here, with more tips for fireproofing your money. The most commonly stated reason for investing is retirement. It's so prevalent that the word retirement is even featured
Let's go.
in many of our favorite savings vehicles. 401k retirement plan, individual retirement account. It's great that we have the means, some sort of dedicated investment account, but don't forget that like every financial
All right,
goal,
let's call out
retirement as a
Placerville.
destination has 2 components, desired amount and target time frame. In other words, you need both a when and a how much before you have any real retirement plan. This means sufficiently specific with either element.
15 seconds, Adam.
Piece about having enough money to live the retirement years as you had imagined. This is Wayne Fireball. Check out
Thanks, Wayne.
fireproofyourmoney.com for tips on setting and reaching your financial goals.
Bam, bam, bam. And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, and it is 15 minutes to the top of the hour, 6:45 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is the voice of the foothills. And hey, good morning to you, Placerville. Currently, it is 46 degrees where you're at right now, looking for a high today of 68 degrees. All right, let's talk about another event for the calendar. You're going to want to put this one on. It is the Blue Jean Bonanza. It is happening Saturday, April 20th, Gold Country Fairgrounds at the Sierra Building, 5 p.m., $75 a ticket. Chris, what am I getting for $75 a ticket? Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to get to hear the Aerial Jean Band playing right now. Some good tunes, by the way. I was listening to it during the last segment. A good beat going on there. Yeah, that's the Aerial Jean Band. You're going to hear that. Plus, you're going to have a no-host bar. You're going to have an auction. You're going to have free parking, barbecue dinner, all all of that. That's supporting the Seroptimus International of Auburn, 75 years of supporting Auburn women. Again, it's the Blue Jean Bonanza happening Saturday, April 20th, Gold Country Fairgrounds in the Sierra Building, 5 p.m., $75 a ticket. Again, you're going to hear the Aerial Jean Band. Maybe she'll play this song right here. Also, you're going to get a barbecue dinner, no host bar, auction, free parking, lots of good stuff. For more information and to purchase your tickets, you can go to SOROPauburn.org. Again, that is SOROPauburn.org. You can also find out more on their Facebook page, the Seroptimus International of Auburn. Just search that on Facebook, Seroptimus International of Auburn. Again, it's the Blue Jean Bonanza happening Saturday, April 20th, Gold Country Fairgrounds in the Sierra Building, 5 p.m., $75 a tickets. Find out more at SOROPauburn.org. Back with your California Ag Report right after this.
Join me for my live call-in medical talk show that answers your questions right here on KAHI. On my show, we tackle issues like cholesterol, diabetes, women's health, children, geriatrics, relationships, and more. And with all that's going on in Washington, we even touch on government and
close. Dr. Dahlia, weekdays from 9 to noon here on the Voice of the Foothills.
That worked out.
Join me each weekday morning right here on FM
104.5
and AM 950 KAHI.
The Voice of the Foothills. Yay, it's getting sunny
With
out.
California Ag Today, I am Haley Shipp. This is the Ag
Haley.
Information Network. In a
Haley
recent
annunciate.
ceremony hosted by the California Department of
Haley.
Pesticide Regulation, Dr. Frank Zalem was honored with a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award for his remarkable 40-plus-year career as a distinguished professor of entomology at the University of California, Davis. Along in the celebration was the Almond Board of California, who boasted that one of Dr. Zalem's noteworthy collaborations was with the board in the 1980s,
Okay,
where he
got
worked alongside
that taken
the
care of.
Cooperative Extension Farm Advisors to
We're going
develop
to
a
go over
groundbreaking
here.
pest management program for
We're going to
naval
go
longshoremen.
to
This
the
program, which included winter sanitation,
Chambers
early harvest, and the development of
calendar.
the 3-day model, led
Find
to
out
a
who our guest
substantial
speaker is
reduction
today.
in naval orangeworm damage and insecticide use, benefiting the entire almond industry. Highlighting the industry's significance, Dr. Zalem shared, I want to acknowledge the visionary leadership
Members.
associated with many
There we go.
California commodity boards and consultant organizations that I've had the
Who's our
pleasure to
guest
work
speaker
with during
today?
my career. A good example is the Almond Board of California, whose longtime
Second.
production and environmental research directors, Bob Curtis and Gabriel Ludwig, have set the standard for how a major farming industry can bridge
Gail
seemingly disparate interests to create an
Garbolino.
acceptable outcome for all
Garbolino?
stakeholders.
Garbolino?
Congratulations
Pastor
to Dr.
County
Zalem on
Schools.
his Lifetime Achievement Award.
Central Coast growers know just
There we
how
go.
much damage aphids can do to leafy veg, coal, and brassica crops.
We are
The Versus
close.
insecticide from BASF makes all visible aphids
Almost
disappear thanks to a
identical.
unique, single, and targeted mode of action.
Time left on
Let's
this
get the
and
aphids
time left
response
on
to
my
a
calendar.
simple, effective solution. Taking calls now
Hello,
to hear from
aphids?
those unhappy aphids.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello? Anyone?
Making aphids disappear from leafy vegetable, coal, or brassica crops is easy
All right.
with Versus insecticide. Always read and follow label directions.
Here we go.
Enhance the quality and marketable yield of your citrus season with the best protection under the sun. Easy to tank mix, foliar applied, from Cultiva is proven to improve plant and fruit cuticle health before sun, rain, insects, and other natural stressors cause lost yields. In recent
20
trials,
seconds.
it's also been shown to strengthen fruit
If I can still stand up. I had vertigo yesterday, so missed yesterday.
Season-long protection.
Brain's still a little wobbly.
Ask your retailer or Cultiva
Doing okay.
about
Thanks for asking.
Visit cultiva.com for more information.
On the Ag Information Network, I am Haley Shipp.
11 minutes to the top of the hour. Heading back now to America's First News. And when we get into the 7 o'clock hour, we'll have the meddlers meeting as we do on Tuesdays. We'll see you back here after the top of the hour.
Good Tuesday morning. America's First News continues.
It was a transition.
New today, Israeli airstrike that demolished Iran's consulate in Syria Monday, killed 2 Iranian
Okay,
generals. and
back to editing the news and
according
back
to Iranian
after this.
officials. The strike appeared to signify an escalation of Israel's targeting of military officials from Iran, which supports militant groups fighting Israel in Gaza and along its border with Lebanon. Since the war in Gaza began nearly 6 months ago, clashes have increased between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Hamas, which rules Gaza and attacked Israel October 7th, is also backed by Iran. Israel, which rarely acknowledges strikes against Iranian targets, said it had no comment on the latest attack in Syria, although a military spokesperson blamed Iran for a drone attack early Monday against a naval base in southern Israel. Heavy gunfire erupted Monday in the downtown area of Haiti's capital as police battled gang members near the National Palace for several hours. Local media reported that at least one policeman was shot after he and other officers were forced to flee an armored car that was later set on fire. Scores of people were trapped by the gunfire in downtown Port-au-Prince, while dozens of others managed to flee. In Washington, House Speaker Mike Johnson says the latest move to oust him, brought on by Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, is nothing but a distraction Republicans can't afford right now, with a razor-thin majority in Congress and so many jumping ship.
And I think that all of my other Republican colleagues recognize this is a distraction from our mission. Again, the mission is to save the Republic. And the only way we can do that is if we grow the House majority, win the Senate, and win the White House. So we don't need any dissension right now. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene filed the motion. It's not a privileged motion, so it doesn't move automatically. It's just hanging there. And she's frustrated. She and I exchanged text messages even today. We're going to talk early next week. Marjorie's a friend. She's very frustrated about, for example, the last appropriations bills. Guess what? So am I. As we discussed, Trey, these are not the perfect pieces of legislation that you and I and Marjorie would draft if we had the ability to do it differently. But with the smallest margin in U.S. history, we're sometimes going to get legislation that we don't like. And the Democrats know that when we don't all stand together with our razor-thin majority, then they have a better negotiation position. And that's why we got some of the things we didn't like.
Johnson making the remarks to Fox News. Top House Republican Mike Turner told CBS he believes Johnson has the courage to put his job on the line to bring a Ukraine aid bill to the floor.
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, the chaos caucus has continued to want to stop everything that occurs in Congress. It's not as if they have an alternative plan. They're just against those things that are necessary. That we're doing. This is necessary for national security. Hakeem Jeffries, minority leader for Democrats, has made it absolutely clear that he will not join with rebels in the Republican side to take down Speaker Johnson on this. And I think we're certainly going to see broad support in Congress to get this job done.
Despite Johnson's claim that most Republicans know the threat is a distraction, Republican Representative John Bacon told NBC Johnson could lose his job if he agrees to hold a vote on aid for Ukraine.
It's possible. I'm not going to deny it. We have one or two people that are not team. They're not team players. They rather enjoy the limelight, the social media. And the fact is, with a 1-seat majority, and we'll end up with a 3 or 4-seat majority after some special elections. But that's not 435 people. It's a very narrow majority. And 1 or 2 people can make us a minority. Yeah. And I'm of the view, you work with a team. I don't have to get 100%. 80% is the Ronald Reagan rule. But we have some people that if they don't get 100%, they want to bring the house down. And it makes us dysfunctional. And so that's a possibility. I do think there'll be Democrats, though, who do not want to see this dysfunction. And I think they'll probably vote present or maybe not be there for a vote. But it is very likely that after this Ukraine bill, we may have a standoff with the speaker. I hope the speaker prevails. He's doing the right thing. It's in our national security interest that Ukraine remain independent.
Before becoming speaker, Johnson was deeply skeptical of approving funding for Ukraine. He voted repeatedly against it. A small group of Republicans has worked to gain support for a discharge petition. That's a seldom successful procedural tool that can circumvent the speaker's control over which bills come up for a vote by gaining 218 member signatures representing a majority of the House. United Airlines is asking pilots to take unpaid time off next month, citing late arriving aircraft from Boeing. It's another example of how Boeing's customers say the manufacturer's production problems and safety crisis are impacting their growth plans. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun last week announced he would leave at the end of the year as part of a broad leadership shakeup, which included the departures of the board chairman and the head of Boeing's commercial airplanes unit. However, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told CBS a change at the top is not nearly enough.
One personnel change or several personnel changes are not the same thing as what we most need to see, which is a change in culture. Whoever takes these new leadership positions and everybody else at Boeing, especially those senior leaders who are accountable for the planes that Boeing produces and the work that company does, they need to demonstrate that they put safety first.
Join the Zoom
FAA has been putting
meeting.
Boeing under a
Members.
microscope ever since this incident happened in January. And frankly, there were a lot of
And
concerns
turn
about
off
what
the
the FAA
camera.
administrator saw in the course of those visits and in the audit. He gave Boeing about 90 days to come up with a comprehensive plan to show that they're on the path to deliver the right kind of quality and safety. We're about 30 days into that. There are regular check-ins, and FAA is not going to allow Boeing to increase their production until they demonstrate that they can do it safely.
Southwest Airlines said it was reevaluating its 2024 financial guidance, citing fewer Boeing deliveries, and its paused pilot and flight attendant training. And Alaska Airlines said its 2024 capacity estimates are in flux due to uncertainty around the timing of aircraft deliveries. Asian shares were mixed Tuesday after Wall Street retreated, as surprisingly strong U.S. manufacturing data cast doubts over how soon the Fed Reserve might cut interest rates. Treasury yields spurted higher after the report said manufacturing unexpectedly returned to growth last month. It snapped a 16-month run of contraction, according to the Institute for Supply Management. The latest evidence showing that the U.S. economy remains strong despite high interest rates. That's a positive for the stock market because it can drive growth and profits for companies, but it can also keep upward pressure on inflation. That in turn can mean a more hesitant Fed Reserve when it comes to the cuts to interest rates that investors crave. Central Bank Chairman Jerome Powell speaking Friday at an event in San Francisco.
We didn't overreact to the good data we had in the second half of last year. You heard us saying that this is good, but we need to see more. And you won't hear us overreacting to these 2 months that are higher. The reason that's important is that the decision to begin to reduce rates is a very, very important one because the risks are two-sided. If we reduce rates too soon, there's a chance that inflation would pop back and we'd have to come back in, and that would be very disruptive. That would not be a good thing for the economy. There's also a risk that we would wait too long, and that would in that case it could be unnecessary. Unneeded damage to the economy.
Anybody going to start the meeting?
The economy is strong. We see very strong growth. We had growth for last year over 3%. Many forecasters see growth coming down to around 2% this year. That's about roughly what the first quarter looks like. That means that we don't need to be in a hurry to cut. It means we can wait and become more confident that, in fact, inflation is coming down to 2% on a sustainable basis. My own expectation is I don't think rates will go back down to the very, very low levels they were at before the pandemic. But where they will turn out to settle out, it's hard to say. This economy doesn't feel like it's suffering from the current level of rates, although if you look at things like
Tuesday, right?
Inflation-sensitive spending, then those parts of the economy are really feeling the high rates.
Following the manufacturing data, traders briefly trimmed bets on the first cut to rates coming as soon as June.
America's First News with Matt Ray.
Reimagine everyday play with the hottest toys for the holiday season from Spin Master. Available at all major retailers. Bitsy. This is a digital pet you can really touch. Reacts to your swipes, tilts, shakes and touch, and grows in response to kids' love and care. For more pet fun, discover Hatchimals Alive. Pets that kids hatch and water and care for in the Hatchie Nursery. Friendship bracelet fans will love the Cool Maker Pop Style Bracelet
Join
Kit,
from your
a
browser.
DIY bracelet kit featuring a fun and easy pop-on bead system. Action lovers, pull off epic stunts with the Monster Jam Mega Grave Digger Trax RC that can conquer any terrain, including snow, grass, dirt, and water. Last but not least, preschool fans of the series Paw Patrol will want to get their paws on the Paw Patrol Mighty Movie Aircraft
So it
during
is
HQ, so they can recreate their favorite scenes from the
Amy
new film.
Lens.
Play with the hottest toys from Spin Master.
So she just hasn't done the meeting yet.
FM 104.5, K283CM, Auburn, and AM 950, KAHI, Auburn.
News this hour from townhall.com. The International Humanitarian Group World Central Kitchen suspending operations in Gaza after an Israeli airstrike that killed a half dozen of its aid workers and their Palestinian driver. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu calls it unintended. Israeli military expressing deepest condolences, pledging a thorough, independent investigation. Iran vowing rapid retaliation for what it says was an Israeli airstrike that killed one of its top generals at an embassy compound in Syria.
All that was left of one building was rubble and an Iranian flag hanging from a pole next to the ruins. Among those killed was Mohammed Reza Zahedi, who once headed Iran's elite Quds force in both Syria and Lebanon, where he built up a close relationship.
Yeah, you fixed it. Yes, but not as well. I think the microphone's attached though.
Okay, they fixed it. I was wondering why they weren't bringing it in.
The financial system that makes you a sitting duck.
Okay, now we have no audio. Cool. That's concerning. Maybe they needed it. There we go. Oh, but is there no podium? That's hilarious.
The law could have a chilling effect on free speech.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, good morning. Casey, would you lead us in the exclusive flag living? Sure would. Would you join me at the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, the USS God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My apologies for our late start. The technology is getting the best of me, so I have to Councilman Holmes. Yes. You had some words for us. Well, I had a little thing from Jar Jar Gabor. The real one? Yeah, I just been real. Getting divorced, just because you don't love a man is almost as silly as getting married just because you do. Well, no, words of wisdom. For those of you anticipating getting married here the next week, then think about that. Well, with that, we have Sean here, city manager, to give us the Auburn report. Our things in Auburn. Mostly. All right. So, real good.
Every Wednesday, visit us in Auburn and Roseville or online at sunrisenaturalfoods.net.
5 minutes past the top of the hour here at FM 104.5 AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. We are going to do what we do on Tuesdays during the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to join into the Auburn Meddlers meeting, also known as the Chamber of Commerce meeting. We're getting updates from the city from City Manager Sean Ray. Let's go ahead and go to the meeting now.
We entered the building with minimal damage. Located a small basket, smoldering rags near the kitchen. Apparently, one of the workers wiped down the hot stove with a rag and then tossed the rag with all the other rags and then caught all the other rags on fire. So they were able to get in, use a pressurized water extinguisher to put out the fire, preventing any significant fire damage. Business owner arrived at the scene, which is, I guess, Nancy's daughter, based on a social media post. Is Kathy on? Kathy is on. So Kathy, I believe it was on the Auburn page, but so the business owner arrived before the fire department was actually able to get a hold of her and tell her that there was a fire in the business. So social media goes quickly. And then so she was provided with a briefing about the fire. The property was released to her, and then the business owner advised that the restaurant was going to be closed for the rest of the day for cleaning. It should be open by now. Auburn Ale House initiated Pints for a Purpose community days a little while ago. So we're fortunate that they selected our Auburn Police Department emotional support dog Bolo for the Sip Brew to Back the Blue as their inaugural event. What do y'all think, Bolo? He's a puppy still, and he has very sharp little teeth. So just watch out for that. Lisa Ford presented a generous check to the department received by Chief of Police Canan and Lieutenant Brian Morrison. Bolo didn't say it out. This is from Chief Canan, by the way. So he says, well, Bolo didn't say it outright. We're pretty sure he secretly hopes some of the donation might go towards upgrading the department's canine treat time. I don't write it. Pickleball. So the pickleball courts over at School Park Reserve, the multi-use area. That project started with the installation of all the erosion control and sediment controls and the tree protective measures that have been put in place. There's also temporary construction fencing up in the area, the park to keep people from parking in the lower lot or wandering into the construction area. They should have started the asphalt demo yesterday. And activity is set to end in late May. So we should be having pickleball sometime this summer, hopefully. Auburn Recreation District, as the project manager, was supporting the project as necessary. Baldoni Construction Services is a contractor, and at some point during this period, the park elevator will be installed as well. So because it's an elevated multi-use area pickleball court, we have to actually have an elevator to get people up onto the pickleball court. So we got that going. We're actually going to start an employee pickleball tournament. So we're going to set up pickleball teams and get that going. Jordan and Melinda Minyard are beginning to work on the Old Mickey's Boots building. So you might have seen activity there finally. So they're turning that into the Remedy Supply Company. Business has been working for quite a while.
Cool.
And it's really good to see that building actually have some activity. I don't know if the fencing is completely down yet, but they are working on it at least, getting stuff moving forward. Remedy's gonna have coffee roasting. They're gonna sell coffee, drum wine bar, cafe, restaurant, and a mercantile store. So they'll have this kind of kitchen kind of stuff, I think. You all know that the Maynard's also in Fort Choice and Old Town. I'm sure their new business is going to be just as successful as the first Auburn store. There was some social media stuff that the city was hanging up the permits or something like that. That wasn't the case. But they have got everything pulled and they're actually moving forward now. They're putting the restaurant in. I think they got it put in last week. So that's moving forward quickly. Nice. And then lastly, we're deep in the budget season. We're going to start our first internal review of the department budgets this week, and early next talk about our budget situation in the past couple.
Fascinating watching somebody.
Our new finance director
watching an
Gretchen
iPad.
Johnson, she's actually here. So Gretchen, new finance director. We still heard from the county. Sorry. Hard getting your last. Yeah, right. Yeah. Wow. Yikes. She's doing an amazing job of working through our previous issues while also handling current crisis. I'm really lucky to have her. And then to help bolster the finance department, council actually approved reallocating a vacant position in my office and city manager department to the finance department. So I've given up one of my positions to help our finance position and move forward. I can answer questions. Anybody have questions? I also talked a couple weeks ago about bringing Michelle Reeves in, who's a nationwide kind of placemaking expert. We actually signed a contract for her. She's going to be here in May 8th, 9th, and then also at the 28th and the 29th of May, 2 different trips. First trip will be working with the different districts and kind of doing a walkabout with folks from the districts, Chamber of Commerce, a couple of council members probably. The second meeting will be bringing all that information back together and then doing an actual kind of like a big meeting at City Hall here to talk about her findings and help those districts just continue to thrive and improve. So, that's a good one. Sir. So we sent a letter to our Congressman, Kevin KAHI, CC Council, and then actually we sent it to the Postmaster and CC Kevin KAHI. I haven't heard back on that. Have you, Mike, heard anything new?
The person that says the woman is ill.
Okay. But we're working on it. It's private. The problem is it's privately owned, right? The building is privately owned. And so trying to figure out how to get, first of all, a private property owner to reopen it as a post office is potentially challenging. And when I talked to the post office people, some guy from Denver, he said that they were closing it because the previous contract owner passed away. They don't do those kind of contracts anymore. And it was not a financially viable model or something. That doesn't, I mean, for us, it's like, well, that's great, but it's also a historic resource that we need to protect in the city, right? So we're pushing back as much as we can on that, but it's been challenging. Yeah. Right. They were going to try to take out, they were going to rip out the boxes. Yeah, so we were able to stop that. I don't know, they would probably just put those in the trash. Right.
And then the other Holden post office out there, we realize that pretty regularly. Everybody out there always says, make sure you fill out the survey because they're always under some scrutiny.
13 minutes past the top of the hour here at FM 104.5 AM at 50 KAHI, voice of the foothills. We're listening into the Auburn Meddlers meeting as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to pause right now to show some love to our fantastic advertisers. We'll be back right after this.
California hasn't.
Yes, Sean, lastly, the water tank.
Oh, the underground tank?
Yeah, what is that? What is the status of it?
Still there. We can't just take it out because it's it has some kind of fluid in it. We're assuming it has gas, but we don't know for sure. And so right now it's got trench plates over the top of it. We can't disturb the soil until we start the remediation process. So we're working with the county. The county's been super helpful to kind of like navigate through all that stuff. Right now we're trying to figure out who the owner of the tank is. Because the property line, my understanding, the property line is actually the front of the building, not the sidewalk. But obviously the city didn't put a gas tank in, right? So it was attached to that building previously. And that's about as far as I can go with that, potentially causing us problems down the road. It's in front of the, it's on High Street. It's in front of the sports store and the kitchen store. So if you drive through there, you'll see a bunch of cones and stuff. But those businesses look like they're not closed. So if you go by them, make sure to go in. But we try to keep the sidewalk as open as we can, but we can't open the sidewalk completely because we got a trench plate to block the, so it's not a good situation at all. It was a shell? Oh, okay.
Yes, you remember it was a dealership.
Yeah. Right. So we're gonna have to go back through the chain of title and figure out who put the gas tank in. And then, 60 years ago, or whatever it was. Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, supervisor, that's
Again is 916-339-7070.
16 minutes past the top of the hour here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, Voice of the Foothills, 7:16 a.m. We're going to head back now to the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do on Tuesdays during the 7 o'clock hour. We're getting updates now from Placer County Supervisor Cindy Gustafson.
It will be under 4 by August, so busy times for our family, but it's pretty amazing. I did, because my husband had his surgery in LA, I got to do a lot of touring of East LA between the hotel and the hospital. We are so blessed. I mean, I know we're blessed, but boy, when you're doing that and just trying to get from one side of LA to the other, it's amazing what we deal with. So just, every time I think about all the issues we have and that we're struggling with, they pale in comparison to what you see down there. But good doctor, and great clinic. So I don't want to say anything else bad about LA. We did have a fire as well, and up at the Mercy Housing, we had a fire in one of the units. It was confined to one unit. My understanding is it was suspected arson. The gentleman did admit to it and was arrested. So there'll be more investigations done. And my understanding is he was being evicted the next day. And so started a fire in his unit. And clearly there'll be an investigation and more information to come. But fortunately, all the other units are fine. It was just confined to that one unit. Great job with our Placer County Fire Department. And I'm sure others responded as well in support. The other thing I wanted to mention is in my various travels around the state that we are experiencing the things that we're experiencing in housing, obviously, in the rezone, and doing all the research that I've been doing and talking to individuals. I've had the opportunity to talk to city council members and supervisors from other areas. And we're all about to have this. If they haven't, we're ahead of them because we had one of the first certification programs for our rezone. But as we face this issue, we are breaking trail for some of the other counties and jurisdictions, and everybody's watching each other because everybody shares this frustration of the state dictating what we do and how we address housing and where in our areas we place high density housing. It is weighing heavily on all of us, and especially I think in D5, but in all the districts. And we're getting a tremendous number of emails from people who live near sites that are potential sites for this rezone. And once we rezone, it's in perpetuity. It's really hard to downzone a property once you've increased its capacity. We won't say it won't ever happen, but it will be a legal challenge and could be then a taking from the private property owner. And so I have very grave reservations about what we're doing and how to address that. So I just wanted to start out with that and make sure that you're all aware that the Planning Commission will hear this. Sorry. Goes to you first on April 25th, and then the Board of Supervisors have set our date at May 21st. That's a week later than our deadline, but one of our supervisors is going to be absent, and we want a full Board of Supervisors in attendance when we make the decisions that are going to potentially impact us for decades and decades to come. More to come on that. I'll give you more briefing, and we might want a presentation exclusively on that. Steve, I think it's important to have the experts here to talk about both what the state's requiring and then what are the ramifications by not dealing with it. We had last week's meeting, we had a presentation from RCRC, the Rural County Representatives of California, on the issues that they cover for us. We are a member of that still. It's for counties under 500,000, and I think we're just at about 420,000 residents right now. So we're creeping up to a place where we might not be considered rural anymore, although many of us will always live in a more rural community than parts of our county. But they've done a lot of work, especially in the area of forest health and broadband, with the CPUC, obviously with housing, health access, energy, and infrastructure. So it was a great presentation. And we also are members of CSAC, the California Counties Association, but the rural counties focus on some of the more definitive issues for rural areas in which we don't compete well with our urbanized areas, and fighting for our share of funding and attention. Housing element and general plan update reports were presented. This was not about the rezone, but we quickly got into some levels of discussion because it does talk about our housing element. That presentation was an annual report that we give to Housing and Community Development of the state and the governor's office. We have to submit a plan. And if you saw that report last week, you'll see that there were a lot of zeros when it came to very low income housing being developed in Placer County over the last 3 years. That's fairly common for many other areas of the state, and why the state is taking the direction they are to try to force and incentivize higher density to bring down the price of housing. Tom and I were talking before the meeting. There's many other things the state could do as well to try to reduce those costs for housing, but you can't build affordable housing. And the cost of delivering a unit is far more than what people in our young people in our community and many in our community can pay for. So how can we bring those costs down? And the state's remedy has been this higher density. If we can put more on a property, then maybe that'll bring the cost down, maybe. So we heard that report and obviously talked about where we have made progress and then those areas that are leading into the pre-zone. We also approved the Auburn Library next phase project of the modernization project for architectural and engineering services, not to exceed $613,695. We didn't have cents on that one, but something like that. And trying to keep that project moving forward with the state's revenue shortfalls. Is that what I'm supposed to say, Daniel? Revenue shortfalls. We don't want to lose any opportunity to maximize that grant. We already know they've reduced it for our other library grants in Kings Beach. But for Auburn, we're going to keep pushing on that, make sure we fulfill the needs and keep the state giving a reason to keep funding that project, because they're looking to claw back wherever. Sorry, Daniel. Well, good. Well, maybe there's hope. By how many billion? Okay, I want to say, how many billion did we get? And then we also authorized HHS to apply for additional $7 million of funding for homeless funding for our county as well.
24 minutes past the top of the hour here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. If you're just joining us, we're tuning into the Auburn Meddlers meeting, also known as the Auburn Chamber of Commerce meeting. That happens every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. We're hearing updates from Placer County Supervisor Cindy Gustafson. Back now to the meeting.
I'm in our county with a lot of Sierra snow. We're waiting anxiously to hear what the water content. I heard the governor is going to be out there watching and measure snow today. I don't know if he's going to be skiing as well or what he's doing on a sunny day, but I'll be here in meetings, so I don't know. Anyway, And Western Placer Waste Management Authority, we did approve that MOU to take their employees and work with them at through Placer County, make them Placer County employees, although they'll be responding to a separate authority board on that. But it just streamlines their costs for us to have them on our county payroll. Our mobile temporary stats, as of Friday, we're at 50 of the 51 tents are occupied. 4 of the 4 homeless liaison overflow tents are still at the law enforcement tents are available. And congregate shelter is at 93 of 96 beds. I hear there's a graduation for some of the residents of the congregate shelter occurring. I believe it's Thursday evening. There's like 3 events Thursday evening because when it rains, it pours. And so I'm hoping to get by there, but we have a number of other commitments as well. So very excited to see that people are moving through our programs up at the shelters and moving on into sustainable housing. That's what we all hope will occur. We did take a position opposing AT&T's application to cut landlines. As you know, in the rural areas, we don't have good internet and cell service. And by cutting landlines, you're actually cutting off people's ability to contact public safety and other needs they might have. So we feel it's disproportionate to the rural communities, and we've taken a position, sent a letter to the CPUC, and we'll see what occurs with that. AT&T is trying to save money by cutting landline service without investing in additional service for our other communities. And then in our federal appropriations highlights, you may have heard the Forest Service got almost an additional $1 billion, 948 million 75. I guess that's 948,750,000 above the 23 level for Forest Service funding, which is going to be critical because we anticipate there may be additional revenue. What do we call them? Shortfalls. Revenue shortfalls, not budget deficits for CAL FIRE. So we want to make sure that we can continue the good programs. And the PILT funding is estimated to about $1 million that Placer County received. That's payment in lieu of taxes for the federal lands that will be coming in. So that was a big one. Senator Padilla did put in a request, and it was in the minibus bill, $1.5 million to study the Forest Hill Divide and make recommendations on the forest health mitigations that need to occur up in Forest Hill. And then our Economic Development Department won a state economic development award for the local Shop Placer campaign promoting shopping here locally. How many of you saw that video? I should bring it sometime and share it with the group. But really reminding all of us that if we want to keep small mom and pop businesses and our local businesses who are the bread and butter of our communities and so generous to our schools, to everything we do, we need to support them. And so remember to shop local all year long, not just at the holidays. We have budget workshops today and tomorrow. 9 a.m. today, we start at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and that will be pretty much probably 2/3 of the day, both days, going through each department's budget requests. This is our first read through it, and then it comes back for final adoption in either the end of May or early June. And tomorrow in front of the courthouse at 9 a.m., if you'd like to join us, we'll be doing an event with the DA and others on Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we'll be putting pinwheels out on the courthouse lawn there and taking some photos and hearing some speeches of what we do to protect our children in Placer County. And next week on our regular board agenda meeting, we'll have a presentation on the Transportation Sales Tax Initiative for South Placer.
Dale Garbolino.
We'll be asked to approve not the sales tax, but the expenditure plan if it is approved. It will be done under the authority of PCTPA, not under the Board of Supervisors, but the Board of Supervisors as well as each of the cities need to approve the draft expenditure plan. And I'm already mentioned the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. Finally, I'll land on fire insurance. Commissioner Lara is holding a virtual workshop on April 23rd at 2 p.m. on Zoom. And he has announced it's his next phase of the sustainable insurance strategy aimed at safeguarding our access to insurance. So we're encouraging everybody to attend, write letters, and continue to keep that pressure on both the insurance commissioner and our legislative representatives. More and more people continue to lose insurance as more and more providers leave the state. We've got to make changes, and hopefully we'll get some movement. I know Dan Walter has pontificated that he thinks this is one of the top issues that the legislature will deal with. I think he said that before we heard about the $70 billion budget shortfall. So anyway, that's some of the updates. Any questions? Can I choose in and out? Sorry. I don't believe it does until the project comes through, until project comes forward. I will double check that, but I don't believe that's so. On. Yeah. I asked it after. Would be less expensive in your thinking, except when you go to housing standards, it's not the same as office standards. But I will check. We did ask staff about it, and they think most of those are far past their useful life. If you've been in them, you know, our employees have suffered out there. I mean, some of those were there when I was going to planning commission meetings 35 years ago. Yeah. $800, yep. You try to run the numbers. Just think about what kind of rent would have to be there for anyone to even make a reasonable return on their investment, even a 2 or 3% return on their investment. Just to, if you were really generous and wanted just to do something right, at least you need to keep up with inflation. How can you can't make it pencil? You just can't. And so, you know, that's why they're driving these density issues. I know I'm running into Gail's time, so. No, no. I'll remind them that they need to do some illustrations on that. Yeah. I would assume to call law enforcement and they deal with it. I don't know what their parameters are.
Thank you very much. As Steve had mentioned, I've been here numerous times and always enjoy coming to this group. You're all a little early at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's a little hard on me, but I can make it work for this group. This is an important group to touch base with. When Steve asked me to do this, I said, sure, what do you want to talk about? He's like, well, whatever you want to talk about. And I said, okay. So about 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, Steve, have any ideas about what I want to talk about? And he's like, yeah, talk about Auburn Union. So I'm not the superintendent of Auburn Union School District, and I'm not a board member of Auburn Union School District, though we do have a couple of former board members here from Auburn Union, and I think a former member joining us online. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank you for your service. And you yourself have dealt with many of these issues that I will be touching base on briefly. Okay, so I think it's important to know I'm in my 18th year as county superintendent. And the good news about that is I have a memory. I know what happened 18 years ago. So I'm going to bring up the past. I think it's important for context to understand why we are here today where we are. So I'm going to go back 20 years. 20 years ago, Auburn Union School District had an enrollment of 2,600 students. And at that time in 2005, the district financially went negative, meaning that they did not have their reserve in their current or second year in their budget. That was, something that was troublesome at the time. When districts go negative, they have to put together a budget committee that looks at reductions and how are they going to, basically balance their books. Around that time in the early 2000s, Auburn Union School District commissioned a facility study to look at with 2,600 students and decreasing the amount of students every year that were enrolling in the district. How many facilities do they need? And they hired my former colleague, Dr. Ron Feist, who had just recently retired from the Eureka Union School District, and in the long esteemed years as superintendent of that district. And he concluded that the district didn't need to close one school, but they needed to close 2 schools. And that was in the early 2000s. I'm going to start off by saying closing schools are controversial. End of story. They're just controversial. People love their neighborhood schools. So the idea that they're idyllic schools with their teachers that they love and the site administration that they love, the idea of that school going away, it's a very traumatic, very controversial decision. So the idea that Dr. Feist in the early 2000s said, not only do you have to close one school, but you're going to probably have to close 2 schools, was something that was just kind of mind-blowing at the time. At that time, the district decided that they were going to do everything that they could in order to boost revenue. And that was an interesting decision because usually when you have financial issues, like we all been alluding to the state of California, you usually deal with the expenditure side of the house. Auburn Union tried to say, okay, we're going to have to address the expenditure side of the house, but our real goal is to increase the revenue. How do we increase revenue? And what they did was kind of controversial. They decided they were going to restrict inter-district transfers and basically say parents that live in Auburn but then take their kids elsewhere, there has to be an agreement between Auburn Union School District and the receiving school district. That board decided we're going to restrict it. So if you live in Auburn Union, we're not going to allow you to attend other schools. That put a lot of pressure on 2 neighborhood school districts. It put a lot of pressure on the Ackerman Union School District and the Newcastle School District, because at the time, Ackerman and Newcastle, about 1/3 of their student population, and mind you, Ackerman and Newcastle were around 400 kids at the time, but about 1/3 of their student population came from Auburn Union. And so when the board decided at the time that they were going to heavily restrict transfers out of the district, those 2 districts reacted. And what they did is they created 2 charter schools. They created Ackerman Charter and they created Newcastle Charter. Because when you create a charter school, you don't need permission from the district in which you live in to leave to go and attend that school. And that's actually very pivotal.
20 minutes to the top of the hour, 7:40 a.m. here at FM 104.5 AM 950 KAHI, Voice of the Foothills. If you're just joining us, we're listening in on the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. Right now, we are hearing from today's guest speaker, Gail Garbolino. She is the Placer County Superintendent of Schools. Let's go ahead and go back to the meeting.
Later, Auburn Union realized, oh no, we have this very strict interdistrict transfer policy out. We have these 2 charter schools that are still taking our kids. In fact, they're taking even more kids from around the area. Auburn Union wasn't the only one that lost kids to Ackerman and to Newcastle. So they decided, hey, to combat this, we're going to create 2 charter schools. And the idea that they weren't going to close Alta Vista School, but they were going to convert it to a charter school, and then they were going to convert E.D. Kane to a charter school. And that way, parents who wanted to live in surrounding areas, whether they're in Meadow Vista, Forest Hill, or in Loomis, you could come to E.D. Kane or Alta Vista to these charter schools without having to get an interdistrict transfer. And that was something that they were trying to emulate with Ackerman and Newcastle. And it really hasn't paid off. And in fact, years later, they ended up closing E.D. Kane charter school, because a charter school is actually like a little small mini school district. So you have to do the same reporting for that little tiny mini little school district like you do for the Auburn Union School District. So they actually had 3. So when you prepared a budget, you need to prepare a budget for the Auburn Union School District. You also need to prepare a budget for E.D. Kane, and you also need to prepare a budget for Alta Vista. We now have all these plans, the local control accountability plan. Each of those charter schools need to have their own plan. So it became kind of like a bureaucratic nightmare. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize Daniel. Sorry, Daniel. That was Cindy who made that comment, not me. Okay, so I also I shared this with the Auburn Union School Board back in February when they hired our office to do the superintendent search. And I pulled up again over the same 20 years of time. So when we looked at the enrollment that went from 2,600 to 1,500, that was a 40% decrease in enrollment over 20 years, which is substantial. At the same time, Auburn Union has had flexibility and fluctuations in their leadership.
Had a commercial that skipped this hour.
Superintendent role. So in the last 20 years, they've had 8 superintendents. Of that, they've only had 1 superintendent who's retired. The rest of them, 2 of them have been a unilateral termination, meaning their contract was bought out. 2 resignations, and they've had 3 interim superintendents. Now, I mirror that with the Placer Union High School District, which has a larger footprint. It's the Auburn community, Loomis community, and the surrounding foothill communities. In that same 20-year period of time, Placer Union High has only had 3 superintendents. And in those 3 superintendents, all of them have retired from the district. So you can see that there's been a difference in the longevity and the leadership in the Auburn Union School District. And if we look locally today, in the Auburn Union School District, they have 5 trustees. The 2 longest serving trustees have only served for 3.5 years. They haven't even filled a complete term yet. And then in 2022, they elected 3 new school board members. So out of this new district, we have a very new school board members that don't have a lot of experience with governance, board leadership. And I think that has also contributed to some of the issues. Thank you, Daniel. So let's look at some recent history here that kind of just leads up to where we are today. So during COVID, we got tons of money. We got state money, we got federal money. At that particular point in time, the district ended up we are
15 minutes.
In California. We do have employees
going to record some
the district news. They settled with their employee groups higher than what the COLA was. So and so they were, not only was that on ongoing expenses, but it was one-time monies, increases to other type of ancillary salary provisions as well. So they exceeded what they were receiving in COVID in a couple of years during COVID, what they were getting from the state. they had a change in the business department. They hired a new business manager who had experience primarily in facilities and not experience in managing school district budgets. In 2022, I mentioned that we had 3 new board members that were elected. So our board longevity became very, very a small amount of board longevity. In February of 2023, I did something that I've never done in 18 years that I've been county superintendent with the 16 school districts that I oversee. Is I issued a going concern letter. And basically what that was is for the last 18 months, up to that period of time, the school districts are required to report to the county office their budgets. They need to pass a budget, they send it to us, we review it, we make sure everything's okay, and we either agree or disagree with their standing, whether they're positive, they're going to meet their financial reserves, whether they're qualified, meaning in one of the 3 years you may not meet your financial reserves, or whether or not you're negative, whether or not you're going to meet your financial reserves in your 2 budget years, your budget year and your the following year. Auburn Union School District at that time, over the previous 18 months, had so many systemic errors in their budget reporting that my office had no idea where their financial position was. We had no idea. We couldn't track it. Every couple of months, we would get a new budget report to us, and there were systemic errors. And then errors that were made continually. So we point out an error in December, and the same error was being made in April. And it got to a point, again, we did not know how much money they had. We could not figure it out. So I issued a going concern letter, which basically says, stop everything that you're doing. I have to hire a fiscal expert to come in, and that triggers a FICMAT review. And FICMAT is the state agency. It's called Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team. And FICMAT is a state agency that its job is to prevent school districts from going insolvent. I was the chair of FICMAT for 4 or 5 years. And so it prompted a FICMAT review. I hired Dennis Snelling, who is the retired assistant superintendent of business from the Roseville City School District. And he came in and over a period of 4 months had to deconstruct the budget and then rebuild the budget and then report to me how much money they had. And what Dennis reported to me, and he subsequently gave the board, and it was on the board meeting agenda this past summer, was that they needed to cut an additional $2.5 to $3 million in order to not go insolvent in 2026. Insolvency, when school districts go insolvency, a couple of things happen automatically. I have to go to the state legislature and I have to get a state loan, which I don't want to do, but I would have to do that. The state loan would have such a high interest rate that this community, it would be a generation plus before this community would actually pay off that state loan. That's how dire it is to go get a state loan. It's not in this community's best interest for that to happen. The superintendent gets fired immediately, and the board becomes advisory. And the power is then given to me. And then I hire a fiscal advisor. And the fiscal advisor comes in and reports to me, and they have board meetings, and they sit there. I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to be a fiscal advisor when I'm in retirement. The fiscal advisor sits there, and the board members are still there, but they have no power. So they can say, well, we think we should do this, and we think we should do this. And the fiscal advisor is like, oh, that's cute of you. No, we're going to do this. So the fiscal advisor makes all the decisions. The fiscal advisor's sole task is to return the districts to solvency. It's not to improve the educational outcome. It's not to provide sports. It's not to provide a comprehensive ELD program. It's just to return the school district to solvency. So people will come to me and they'll say, Gail, we should just go insolvent and have the state take us over. That is irresponsible. And nobody in this community should allow that as an option, because nobody in this room will be alive by the time that state loan is paid off. And until that state loan is paid off, the board does not receive 100% control of their school district. I mentioned that I was the FICMAT chair for 4 to 5 years. My very last meeting in LA, I had 50 parents show up from Oakland and from Inglewood, yelling and disrupting our board meeting because they haven't had control of their school district in 20 years for Oakland and in 10 years for Inglewood. And you know what? They're not about to get control back anytime soon because that district has not regained solvency, right? We cannot allow that to happen. So I'm going to lay that on the line right there. Hold on here, I'm not done yet. All right, so fiscal going concern letter, not great. In May of 2023, the superintendent resigns. And then in April, May, June, it was kind of a rolling couple of months there, the board approves the closure of 2 schools, Rock Creek Elementary and then Alta Vista Charter. Now I put an asterisk by Alta Vista Charter because initially they voted to approve the closure of Alta Vista School. They waited and then I think they approved Rock Creek. Well, this is where I got a little bit irritated. There was a decision that they were going to rehear the decision to close Alta Vista. And I found out about it. And they were going to do it on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So just think about the governance of that, all right? Let's talk about good, transparent governance. You take a very controversial decision, closing a school. And you make that decision in a gymnasium with maybe 200 people in attendance who have very strong emotions, yes or no. And then you decide to reverse that decision the day before the fiscal year ends at 7 a.m. at a special board meeting on a Saturday. Gail was not happy. What they did is they ended up saying that they were going to not close their charter school, but they were going to move it to inactive status. And some people are going to say, well, Gail, it's the same thing. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. You went back on a decision that you made in open in front of your people, the public. You held a special meeting at Saturday at 7 a.m. to move it to inactive, which means you could open it up at another special board meeting on a Sunday at 10 p.m., right? And I told them that they need to figure out how they're going to solve their financial problems. They shouldn't be creating a situation where they're figuring out how they're going to reopen the school. That's the last thing that this district needs to do right now, is spend time, effort, and energy into that. Where am I at time? Oh, okay, I can get through this. My fiscal expert, FICMAT comes in and they issue a report that Auburn Union School District is at high risk for insolvency. And then in fall of 2024, the board approves a reconfiguration to a T8 model for cost-saving measures. And this came up in the spring of last year when they were discussing whether or not they were going to close schools, but maybe they should just reconfigure the schools. And at that time, the board said, no. Your tax committee was to make a recommendation to close schools, not to reconfigure, but we'll take that up later. So they took it up in the fall of this last year. So that leads us to where we are right now, with a school district that is a little dysfunctional. We have an interim superintendent who has announced that she is not returning in July, so her last day is in June. We have a very young school board with very little experience. We have some major financial decisions that need to be made. We have very contentious labor negotiations that are happening right now in the district. And it's at the meantime, I'm trying to attract a very high quality individual to come in to be the superintendent of this diamond in the rough school district. So there's a couple of things that need to happen. They need to happen. If this community wants a school district that is going to help bring in businesses, that are going to help bring in young families, they need to do these things, and they need to do this in this order. We need to hire our well-qualified superintendent who is going to lead this district. It is quite possible that the superintendent that the board hire will have more experience in administration than all the board years combined of this school board. This person will have more experience. This school board needs to listen to the superintendent because they need direction. The school district has been rudderless. They have been rudderless, and that can't continue to happen. The new superintendent and board need to build a relationship that's based on trust, and that they need to allow the superintendent to lead. I would argue there's not a lot of trust amongst the school board members right now. The superintendent and board need additional training because they're so young in their board's experience. They need more training. They haven't had great modeling. They haven't had a permanent superintendent who's had high quality governance training. My question is, why do they take public comment at the beginning of an agenda item? They shouldn't be taking public comment at the beginning of an agenda item. They should be taking public comment towards the end of an agenda item. Because you know why? Because the questions that the public has might be answered by the presentation from the superintendent, or might be answered by questions and discussions by the board. These are just minor tweaks that an experienced, high qualified superintendent can make recommendations to that will help calm things down in Auburn Union. The superintendent board need to rebuild the trust with their employees and their community. People are mad. People are pissed. People are hurt with what's happened. So that needs to happen as well. Auburn Union School District leadership needs to effectively manage all of their resources. That's their budget, that's their facilities, that's everything else. And they need to improve existing core programs. I can't tell you how frustrated I get when I get in the community and somebody comes up to me and says, don't you think we need to change Rock Creek and make it an IB school? I want to do that. No. Auburn Union needs to take care of the students that it has now. It needs to have high quality programs for all kids now. We can't think about this idea. I call it the get rich quick schemes of let's not deal with the expenditure side of the house. Let's figure out how we can bring more revenue in. There's a time and place for that. And that's not right now. That is not right now. And then the last one is that the leadership needs to be thoughtfully explore opportunities for Auburn Union to compete competitively for students in this area, to attract new families, to attract new businesses. Businesses don't move into communities that have dysfunctional school boards or school districts. They just don't. I look over in Sacramento, and I know that are you on GSAC? Auburn Union now is part of GSAC, right? Businesses are not moving into downtown Sacramento because of the Sac City Unified School District. They're coming to Folsom, they're coming to Rockland, they're coming to Woodland, they're coming to all these other school districts. They're not moving into downtown Sac because Sac City Unified is not a model you want to emulate. We can't have Auburn do that. We can't have Auburn Union do that. All right, I'm done. Sandy, yes, hi. So I think, okay, so for example, Blue Door is a whole other conversation. I will say Rockland Unified is a lot larger, but Rockland Unified has high quality core programs, right? And then they add to it. So for example, they added a dual immersion language program, which is incredibly difficult to operate. And Cindy will know, when she was at Tahoe Truckee, we've had Kings Beach be dual language for probably 25 years, if not longer. And it's taken a long time to get that program up and running. And I sometimes wonder whether Rockland Unified, I mean, they want to invest in dual language, but they have core programs that they can invest in first, and then they take the time to figure out what is research-based, what is, and it's not just an overnight decision. There's staff development, there's money, there's a variety, there's building consensus within the community. So Rockland is hard to compare, but let's talk about Ackerman. Let's talk about Placer Hills. Let's talk about Forest Hill. Forest Hill's enrollment has gone up because people are actually moving there because they can afford land and build a house, and there's new housing development that's happening in Forest Hill. So that's seeing additional. But I think the issue with Auburn Union is you need to stop students leaving. How you stop students leaving is by developing high quality core program. And then you say, okay, what would be an innovative program but it has to be a secondary thought. You can't do it at the same time. You can't sit here and say, oh my God, I'm bleeding out my leg, but let's go ahead and figure out what I'm going to do with my right arm. Well, no, you're bleeding out your left leg. So either we got to tie a tourniquet or we got to do something to stop the bleeding. And how you stop that bleeding is investing in your core programs. Or maybe even more, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the electorate out there is paying attention to what's going on, but not necessarily complete. Even the community, the growing community, yeah, maybe your chamber program, be dependent that kids, well educated, give the parents a reason to bring their kids to the schools. It has to be addressed.
I won't disagree. I mean, I do think it needs to be addressed. I think that the first thing that needs to happen is, and I'm an elected official, right? So I understand the will of the electorate. And I think in 2022, we across the county did see, I think something like 22 or 24 new school board members that were elected. So we did have a large portion of new school board members because communities now were paying attention. Not that they weren't paying attention, but they had maybe more philosophical interests in who was representing them on their school board. I think first and foremost right now is when you have, like, so for example, in Dry Creek, for example, we had 3 new school board members elected in Dry Creek. We had 2 long-term school districts, long-term school board members in Dry Creek. The difference is that they have a superintendent who's been a superintendent for 10 to 12 years, who can work and provide modeling and provide structure for this new school board majority. We don't have that in Auburn Union. We have Michelle Lucci Garcia, who I think has done a great job, but she's interim and she has a limited amount of experience. Her experience in an administrative capacity has only been in Auburn Union. And I'm not 100% sure that the modeling that she had was one that was high quality. So I do agree, the voters have spoken, and I understand that. I think with new school board members, a lot of times new school board members come in and they think that they're going to change a direction in a way, and then they realize that we all live in the state of California, and the state of California has certain rules that we all have to follow. And you know, that might be an idea that may pass in a different state, but here in the state of California, we have certain rules and laws that we have to follow. And I'm just saying that you can't achieve the change that you want to achieve. You just can't at times do it overnight and, you know, just will it to happen. There's a process that by which you have to go through. Okay, yes, and then yes. Huh? So I will say that there is room for opportunity to grow. There has been some growth. Opportunity to grow. We have an opportunity to grow, to increase our test scores. We have an opportunity to grow. I will say in the last couple of years, they have made some strides in the area of English language learners. But there is it does. But in order for Auburn Union to be competitive with some of our, you know, Loomis Union School District, some of our districts in the South part, there's an opportunity for them to grow academically.
And 4 minutes past the top of the hour here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. We were just listening in on the Auburn Meddlers meeting that happens every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. Went a little bit longer today, but very interesting conversation. We were listening to guest speaker for today, Gail Garbolino. She's the superintendent of Placer County Schools. Really interesting to hear what's going on with the Auburn Union School District, what's going on around there. I know a lot of people had questions. Parents are wondering what's going on with schools being closed and all that interesting stuff. So we'll keep you up to date with all the things that are going on there as it comes out in the news. We're going to go ahead and check in with meteorologist Tim Root to find out what our weather is looking like today. Timmy, how are we looking for today?
Tuesday weather forecast, mostly sunny skies, temperatures approaching 70 today, and the southwest wind about 10 miles per hour. Mostly clear overnight, 45 to 50 for the low, and light winds expected. There'll be some breezes coming in from the south. On Wednesday, it'll be mostly sunny, 65 to 70. And Thursday should be mostly cloudy with a few showers around 58 degrees. This is meteorologist Tim Root from FM 104.5 and AM 950 KAHI.
6 minutes past the top of the hour, heading back now to America's First News. See you back here with your Fox Business Report right after this.
Expanded his gag order prohibiting former President Donald Trump from attacking court staff, prosecutors, and witnesses in his criminal hush money trial. It now includes family members of both himself and District Attorney Alvin Bragg. It came days after Trump assailed the judge's on social media. The judge wrote this pattern of attacking family members of presiding jurists and attorneys assigned to his cases serves no legitimate purpose. It merely injects fear in those assigned or called to participate in the proceedings that not only they, but their family members as well are fair game for defendants' vitriol. Trump's hush money case is one of 4 of his criminal cases against him. He posted a $175 million bond Monday in his New York civil fraud trial case, halting collection of the more than $454 million he owes and preventing the state from seizing his assets to satisfy the debt while he appeals. The New York appellate court had given the former president 10 days to put up the money after a panel of judges agreed last month to slash the amount needed to stop the clock on enforcement. The bond Trump is posting with the court now is essentially a placeholder meant to guarantee payment if the judgment is upheld. The Florida Supreme Court Monday cleared the way for the state to ban abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, before many women know they're pregnant, while also giving voters a chance to remove restrictions in November. The court, which was reshaped by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, ruled 6-1 to uphold the state's ban on most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, meaning a ban on 6 weeks could soon take effect. But under a separate 4-3 ruling, the court allowed a ballot measure to go to voters that would enshrine abortion rights in Florida's constitution. Multiple individuals were hurt Monday in a pileup involving as many as 30 vehicles at an intersection south of Midland, Texas, as high winds blew dust that made visibility difficult. Northwest of Midland in Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Illinois, severe storms with possible tornadoes, hail, and flooding rain were moving through Monday evening. Rainfall was falling Monday night across central Illinois. The National Weather Service posted a flash flood warning after 2.5 inches fell in an area near Springfield and Decatur. The owner and manager of a cargo ship that rammed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge before the span collapsed last week filed a court petition Monday seeking to limit their legal liability for the deadly disaster. The wreckage closed the port of Baltimore, a major shipping port, potentially costing the area's economy hundreds of millions of dollars in lost labor income alone over the next month. Maryland Governor Wes Moore said he understands the need for urgency, but it's going to take time to rebuild as the Coast Guard has opened a temporary alternate channel for vessels involved in clearing debris. It's part of a phased approach to opening the main shipping channel leading to the vital ports.
We need to do more work clearing the channel in order to move forward. Now, I know there's an urgency to move fast. And no, we need to do more work clearing the channel in order to move forward. Now, I know there's an urgency to move fast. And nobody feels that urgency more than the people standing up here today. This is a steel bridge that is sitting on top of a container ship in the middle of the Patapsco River. We are talking about tons of steel that is mangled and cantilevered. We're talking about a situation where a portion of the bridge beneath the water has been described by Unified Command as chaotic wreckage. They cut up and lifted a piece of the north section of the Key Bridge. The entire operation took 10 hours. And in that time, they were able to cut and lift
a 200-ton span of the bridge. Now, when we were getting that briefing, Unified Command said something that really struck me, where the Admiral says this was a relatively small lift. We're talking about 200 tons. We're talking about something that is almost the size of the Statue of Liberty. And what the Admiral said is right. It's a small piece of what we're talking about. The scale of this project, to be clear, it is enormous. And even the small lifts are huge. That's how we have to move forward.
Some barges and tugs that have been stuck in the port of Baltimore since the collapse are also scheduled to pass through the channel. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Shannon Gilreath.
What we're finding is it is more complicated than we had hoped for initially. These are still girders, unlike the steel girders that you can see that are above the waterline still, which have significant damage. Below the waterline, along the bottom, is very challenging because these girders are essentially tangled together, intertwined, making it very difficult to figure out where you need to eventually cut so that we can make that into more manageable sizes to lift them from the water.
Experts say the cost to rebuild could be at least $400 million or as much as twice that, though much depends on the new design. Oregon's Democratic Governor Tina Kotek Monday signed into law a bill that recriminalizes the possession of small amounts of drugs, ending a first-in-the-nation experiment with decriminalization that was hobbled by implementation issues. The new law rolls back a 2020 voter-approved measure by making so-called personal use possession a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 6 months in jail. It also establishes ways for treatment to be offered as an alternative to criminal penalties by encouraging law enforcement agencies to create deflection programs that would divert people to addiction and mental health programs instead of the criminal justice system. The law directed hundreds of millions of dollars of the state's cannabis tax revenue toward addiction services, but that money only trickled out the door, and health authorities already grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic struggled to stand up the new treatment system, according to an audit. At the same time, the fentanyl crisis began to spark an increase in deadly overdoses. Those pressures prompted Oregon Democrats to shift their stance on decriminalization. And it's the end of an era in Las Vegas. After featuring the Rat Pack and welcoming guests for more than 67 years, the doors to the Hotel Tropicana are closing at noon today, and demolition is expected in October, making room for a $1.5 billion Major League Baseball stadium as Las Vegas rebrands itself as a hub for sports entertainment. By the 1970s, federal authorities investigating mobsters in Kansas City charged more than a dozen mob operatives with conspiring to skim nearly $2 million in gambling revenue. Charges connected to the Tropicana alone resulted in 5 convictions.
Okay.
You're listening to America's First News. Good Tuesday morning.
Good Tuesday morning to you, Matt.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Crisp fall mornings turn bitter cold.
Well,
you climb in your diesel.
It's actually spring, going to summer.
So imagine how your engine feels.
Commercials
after
a little
frosty
old.
night. Freezing temperatures impact your diesel's fluids, especially fuel. As
Especially
the temperatures
fuel.
drop, water that is emulsified within your fuel is
Shingle
released,
spray.
adding more water into your system. Frozen water in your fuel lines, filter, or bowl will simply slow the flow, or worse,
Slow
stop
the flow.
of fuel in your system. No fuel flow, no start. Get prepared now for the cold that is coming.
30 seconds, Adam!
Winter Anti-Gel is a premium fuel additive that
Ooh.
cools your fuel's core point to 65 degrees. If it's that cold out, you shouldn't be on the road. You ought to be at home in front of the fireplace. Hot Shot Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel Premium Fuel Additive. Available now online at hotshotsecret.com. Powered by science.
And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, and it is 14 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:14 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is the voice of the foothills. And hey, good morning to you, Shingle Springs. Currently, it is 51 degrees where you're at, looking for a high of a very balmy 71 degrees today. All right, let's turn it over now to the Fox Business Report.
And this is the Fox Business Report.
Yes, it
Stocks
is.
opened lower. The ISM report indicating manufacturing rebounded last month still has Wall Street concerned that interest rates will not be moving lower. Health insurance stocks are sharply lower. Investors were anticipating higher payment
close
rates
that
for
out.
Medicare plans. Tesla shares are down 6%. It delivered fewer cars than expected in the recent quarter, though it was partly because it was upgrading its Fremont, California plant Tesla also faced challenges with Red Sea disruptions temporarily suspending production at its factory in Germany. That factory was also paused after environmentalists set fire to it. And GE Vernova, the power generation business spun off from General Electric, launched today. The stock slightly higher. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Kimiko Silva, invested in you.
You can host the best backyard barbecue. You find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around.
What's the April Fool's lucky card in the deck? The Joker.
Connect with skilled professionals
What's a
to get
prankster's
all
favorite
your home
toy?
projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
If you like quality, let's talk Amish.
The Amish furniture craftsman starts with the finest hardwood, shaping and molding the raw materials
Worry
into
about,
a one-of-a-kind work of art.
Traffic.
Amish furniture will last a lifetime, right, Nova? Yes.
Nature at Home Furnishings offers the largest selection of surprisingly affordable Amish furniture.
With Amish, your choices are endless.
All Amish furniture is on sale. Nature, the building, the water wheel.
Tell them Brooklyn, Nova, and Orion sent you.
16 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:16 a.m. Let's take a look outside at traffic right now. Looking at our roadways, 80 eastbound and westbound, coming up through Auburn, looking good. If you're on 65 southbound, however, slowing down now between Blue Oaks and Pleasant Grove, all the way to 80 as you're making your way down to the Cap City split here. Greenback, slowing down around Greenback and Madison there. Cap City Freeway slowing down around Watt Avenue as you're heading into Sacramento. 80 westbound, on the other hand, headed over to I-5, looking real good right about now. Eastbound coming back over towards Sacramento, looking real good too. I-5 northbound looking good. Southbound slowing down as you're coming towards Sacramento. If you're heading out to the Bay Area right now, looks like we've got an accident. Second lane from the left block. That's I-80 west, westbound at Capitol Avenue and Enterprise there. So just on the other side of Sacramento there. Heading out to the Causeway there, heading out towards Davis. So slowdowns there. 50 eastbound and westbound though, looking pretty good. East or westbound slowing down though as you're heading into Sacramento around Howe Avenue, as we would expect for this time of day. So just a heads up there. But other than that, no major accidents or slowdowns happening around the area. But of course, if you see somebody on the side of the road, construction workers or somebody with their hazards on, be sure to give them a break. Back with more right after this.
Here's one of our local advertisers to tell you why he loves KAHI Radio.
I'm Fred Penny.
Hi, Fred.
Managing partner of Penny Associates, injury lawyers. All offices are located throughout California, and we have the opportunity to advertise across the state. We chose to advertise with KAHI. Among our other locations, we see the advantage of reaching those who matter most, the local customers, through local radio on KAHI. The voice of the players.
1 in 3 people are at risk for developing kidney disease, which can be potentially chronic and fatal.
All right, coming up
Symptoms are difficult
next,
to detect.
dad joke.
Is now high blood pressure. Visit OptumKidneyCheck.com to take a simple survey to find out if you are one of the 1 in 3 people who is at risk of developing kidney disease. That's OPTUM KidneyCheck.com. A public service message from the National Kidney Foundation, Optum Labs, and the station.
18 minutes past the top of the hour. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to have your daily dad jokes. That's right, make you laugh, sigh, probably roll your eyes. We didn't have them during the 7 o'clock hour because on Tuesdays, we carry the Auburn Meddlers meeting here. Really good stuff that was coming out of there. So we are going to push the daily dad jokes to this hour. Coming up next in the bottom of the hour, you can send me yours live at KAHI.com or call 530-885-3565. Back now to America's First News. I'll see you back here at the bottom of the hour.
With Matt Ray. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Derek.
Hi, Matt. All right, finishing up the news.
April. In France circulated a proposed new United Nations resolution that would call for an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and the immediate release of all hostages seized during Hamas's surprise attack on Israel October 7th. France's UN ambassador Nicolas de Rivère told reporters before presenting the draft resolution to Security Council members that it has no time limitation.
This draft resolution deals with the most pressing matters. It calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza without a time limitation. It also demands the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. It condemns the terrorist attacks by Hamas that took place on October 7, and it demands an immediate and full humanitarian access. We are just starting. It's an ambitious project. It will take time. We need to consult everyone. As you know, the situation in the Gaza Strip is catastrophic. We call for the full and immediate implementation of Resolution 2728. Against this background, France is convinced that the Security Council should live up to its responsibilities. The two humanitarian resolutions tabled by Malta and the United Arab Emirates paved the way. The elected member, the E10 resolution, was a turning point a week ago. This council needs to do more. It cannot wait any longer.
The Security Council issued its first demand for a ceasefire last Monday for the remainder of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which ends April 9th. The United States, Israel's closest ally, abstained, angering Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. American and Israeli officials, meanwhile, are planning talks to discuss the potential expansion of Israel's war against Hamas to the southern Gaza city of Rafah, as the U.S. opposes the Israeli ground assault on humanitarian grounds. There are more than 1.3 million civilians sheltering there after fleeing other parts of Gaza. Netanyahu has insisted that Israel must be able to enter the city, as it has the rest of the territory, in order to root out Hamas's remaining fighters. He claimed anybody who says he's not doing all he can to bring home the hostages is a liar.
מי שאומר שאני לא עושה הכל כדי להחזיר את חטופינו, טועה ומטעה. ומי שיודע את האמת, ועדיין חוזר על השקר הזה, גורם לצער מיותר למשפחות החטופים.
Tens of thousands of Israelis demonstrated in Jerusalem Sunday in the largest anti-government protest since the country went to war in October. Protesters urged the government to reach a ceasefire deal to free dozens of hostages and to hold early elections. Democratic Representative James Clyburn told NBC Netanyahu's problems at home and abroad are of his own doing.
What is happening is wrong, and we need to make it right. And that's what President Biden is trying to do, trying to make it right. And I would say that poll showed much more of a dissatisfaction with Netanyahu than with the people of Israel. We stand with the people of Israel. We do not like the fact that this country's policy is a two-state solution. And Netanyahu has undermined that two-state solution for as long as he's been in office. He sold his soul to the right-wingers in Israel in order to maintain power for himself. And those people are opposed to this two-state solution. Biden is for a two-state solution. Democrats are for a two-state solution. That is the only way for us to move forward. And so this drop in support has nothing to do with the people of Israel and everything to do with Netanyahu.
On the ground, an apparent Israeli airstrike killed 4 international aid workers with the World Central Kitchen charity and their Palestinian driver late Monday, hours after the group brought in a new shipload of food to northern Gaza. Staff showed the passports of 3 of the dead, British, Australian, and Polish. The nationality of the 4th aid worker was not immediately known. Now to California, where most fast food workers are being paid at least $20 an hour, as a new law kicked in Monday, giving more financial security to an historically low-paying profession while threatening to raise prices in a state already known for its high cost of living. State Democrats passed it last year as part of an acknowledgement that many of the more than 500,000 who work in fast food restaurants aren't teenagers earning spending money, but rather adults working to support their families. McDonald's California franchisee Scott Broderick described to CNBC the expected impact on franchise operators.
Impacts 15,000 restaurants up and down the state of California. It's going to be the most serious challenge for entrepreneurs that do business on the franchising platform. The vast majority of these restaurants run by small business proprietors who do business on the franchising platform, and the vast majority being family-owned and operated, just like my restaurants. You know, I want to underscore the word family-owned because franchisees are not large global corporations. The restaurant brands that we franchise might be national in name, but franchisees are local business operators. It's an important fact that somehow seems to get lost in the legislation that was crafted. And as you stated earlier regarding, it is absolutely the intended consequences. And for many, what makes this legislation unprecedented, let alone extraordinary, is that it only benefits employees who work in franchise restaurants. Whether you own one single donut shop or 10 donut shops in California, If you're part of a franchise brand with 60 or more locations, the new wage mandate is going to apply to you. And as you just stated, this is an extraordinary wage jump, 25% overnight. It's a serious concern for two reasons. First, it targets only fast food restaurants. And second, the sheer scale of the impact, it's just breathtaking. Historically, as you said about step-laddered approach, many cities have studied and put forth living wages with annual CPI bumps. Certainly, the city that I opened my first McDonald's in, San Francisco, is one great example of that. They chose a fair living wage. They set an annual CPI cap, and it allows us to plan for that as small business owners. It's fair to the employees, and it's fair to people who create the jobs.
Over the past decade, California's doubled its minimum wage for most workers to $16 an hour. A big concern over that at the time was whether the increase would cause some workers to lose their jobs as employers' expenses increased. Instead, data shows wages went up and employment did not fall. Thunder and lightning delayed the start of the annual Easter egg roll at the White House Monday, but the event eventually rolled ahead under gray skies with a large crowd, including many youngsters wearing ponchos or colorful jackets against intermittent rain. More than 40,000, 10,000 more than last year, were expected to attend, with host President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden.
Happy Easter, everybody.
I really do. It's just like, my daughter was laughing so hard.
I'm a teacher, so I love any time when we can turn the White House into a classroom. And that's what we're doing today. The South Lawn is transforming into our learning playground and school community.
We did everything, but we couldn't control the weather. So Al Roker told me this morning it was going to get sunny. Folks, welcome to what's expected to be the biggest White House Easter egg roll ever.
It made me so happy.
Easter reminds us of the power of hope and renewal, sacrifice and resurrection, and mainly love and grace toward one another.
Participants included thousands of military and veteran families, their caregivers, and survivors. Members of the general public claimed the tickets through an online lottery. All were being admitted in 9 waves until the evening. And Google's agreed to purge billions of records containing personal information it collected from more than 136 million people in the U.S. surfing the web through its Chrome browser. The massive house cleaning comes as part of a settlement in a lawsuit accusing the search giant of illegal surveillance. Among other allegations, the lawsuit accused Google of tracking Chrome users' internet activities even when they had switched the browser to incognito mode. That is supposed to shield users from being shadowed by the Mountain Dew company.
America's first news
So
with
I'm going to
Matt
look into
Ray.
it, see my house and rent it out. Otherwise, I'm going to be living at KAHI. Come in, serious. I mean, I think the thing that's so staggering is I couldn't even afford one California Fair plan, and now I've got two. I can't even afford one. Jesus, I can't even afford one of you. Why do I have two? And Kate's so sweet. She was always so nice to me.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel like such a loser. So I'm like,
Now, time for another Otis Advice.
Isn't she a sweetheart?
The big shakedowns in high
Did that happen?
Under your desk.
how do you
Shelf at the store.
Did you drink too
You
much?
have landed in the new
That was Vertigo.
Joey's
Oh, I do.
when they asked him if he has cataracts.
I did.
It's serious. I was laughing at her.
So what are your expectations?
Oh, it took like 24 hours, but it did work. Yeah.
Look for a new trade route to do
Fun burgers, but we can get her a phone appointment on Monday. I said, it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We're not leaving my mother skinny on her bed.
Oh my gosh. The first time I got it, I was in, I was still living at home. I was going to Sierra College. I thought I was dying. Oh, it was, yeah, it was awful.
That's the one gift life hasn't given me.
Well, good. Well, you've got enough. Yeah. Yeah. My sister-in-law got it, and then when I'm like, oh, that's what I have. Okay. Like, that sounds familiar. Gracious sakes. Oh, it was the worst. Well, I mean, there are worse things, but it was pretty awful. And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, April 2nd. It is 30 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:30 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. And hey, good morning to you, Lake of the Pines. Currently, it is 52 degrees where you're at right now, looking for a high today of 69 degrees. Oh, my goodness gracious, there it is. It's time for your daily dad jokes. That's right, make you laugh, sigh, roll your eyes, most likely. You can send me yours live at KAHI.com or call me 530-885-3565. Starting with the first one here. A mummy covered in chocolate and nuts has been discovered in Egypt. Archaeologists believe it may be a Pharaoh Rocher. Oh, there are groans coming from the other room. Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, maybe it deserves a groan there. All right. All right. Well, we missed April Fool's Day yesterday, so we're gonna make up for it today. Here we go. Here's some daily dad jokes for you. April Fool's Day edition. A day late. I get it. Adam, I get it. It's a day late. Okay, here we go. Believe nothing and trust no one on this April Fool's Day, so it's just like any other day. Well, that's pretty cynical. All right. Well, let's how about this one? How is April Fool's Day like a huge open mic night? Millions of people go out of their way to demonstrate how unfunny they are. Unfunny they are. That's harsh. Oh my gosh. Okay, how about this one? A and C were going to prank their... Adam, keep the music going. Hang on. A and C were going to prank their friend, but they just let her be. Oh, okay. These April Fool's Day dad jokes are not... All right, how about this one? What's the April Fool's lucky card in the deck? Little early there, Adam. Wait for the punchline here before we do the rim shot. Let's try it again. What's the April Fool's lucky card in the deck? The Joker. All right, let's move on past that one. That one. There we go. Okay. April Fool's Day is the favorite holiday of which animal? The silly goose. We'll end with the applause. We'll end with that one. Those have been your daily dad jokes for this Tuesday, April 2nd. Those April Fool's ones didn't quite add up. We'll see if we can do a little bit better tomorrow. Back with more right after this.
That was something. I did like the 8-letter B.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one. I cracked myself up. I mean, somebody's got to enjoy this, right?
That's true.
Right? That's what I say.
This is going to be a day.
Some breezes coming in from the south. On Wednesday, it'll be mostly sunny, 65 to 70. And Thursday should be mostly cloudy with a few showers around 58 degrees. This is meteorologist Timber from FM 104.5 and AM 950 KAHI.
Thanks, Timmy. It is 33 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:33 a.m. Coming up next, well, we've got America's First News and the O'Reilly Report that are going to finish out this hour. Hey, if it is your birthday today, happy stinking birthday to you. I hope you have a fantastic day. It is my mom's birthday today, so happy birthday to you, Mom. Also, my parents' anniversary. Way to go, Dad. Got married on Mom's birthday, so double bonus there. One day to remember, also one day to forget. So let's hope they all remember that today. I got to give my mom a phone call. Until we meet again, remember to be kind, be honest, be yourself, and remember you can't hate somebody if you're hugging them. Back now to America's First News. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. What's that? She did. She did. Yeah, it's well, you know, one day to remember. Right? Probably did that for her delinquent son that doesn't send her a card.
about potential supply chain disruptions. Twice she dodged the question.
So the Small Business Administration has been quickly activated. Obviously, I said this at the top. You have the Department of Labor as well. This is a whole of government approach. Department of Transportation. We had the U.S. Coast Guard admiral here that was able to, who's running that effort, obviously to deal with the cleanup. And
All right. Okay. Here we go.
That is what the president has said. We're going to be there every step of the way. You're going to see the president.
You know what they say?
No, what do they say?
Another day, another 50 cents.
Right.
Small Business Administration, Department of Labor, Department of Transportation. We are going to be there for the people of Baltimore.
Okay, we're gonna end the stream. Bye.
Emergency relief